We welcome you viewers to a very exciting edition and a very fascinating edition of the National Enlightenment Forum. This is a platform where we seek to educate the viewers and about issues that has to do with nation and the grassroots, and essentially bring the very young people to the front burner of issues of critical importance to our dear society. So on the very first segment, we are going to be looking at issues that affect the young people, especially looking at the state of the moral decadence within our very society today. So I have here with me some few guests which are going to do justice to the topic we have today. Before I introduce them, let's quickly go on this first break. Welcome you back again. This is the National Enlightenment Forum talk show. We are going to be looking at the issues that has to do with the spate of abuse, about the spate of abuse on the Nigerian youth by the current hip-hop musical lyrics. And because very well we know the other time Two-Face DB had to make a comment about the very bad songs that proliferate the Nigerian musical space. So we are looking at how this particular issue has consistently pervaded the mentality and the psyche of the very young people whom we have considered as asset to our nation. So right away, I'm going to be introducing my guest. So I have with me, very close to me here, Mr. Idem Oscar, who is an educationist. You're welcome to the show. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I have to my far right, I have Mr. Joshua Fadipe, so who is also known as DJ, is an educational consultant, a proprietor of a very proportionate measure. Before we go into the topic, we want to say this, that the Nigerian music space today is filled with a lot of songs, some of which have not been censored, and some of which, at the end of the day, corrupt the psyches of the everyday Nigerian youth. And with this coming trend, we're looking at how this can actually be addressed. What are the talking points, and how do we ensure that this does not continue to pervade and influence the development of our youth, who we know they are the future of tomorrow? So before we go into that, let's take this commercial break again. Thank you. Welcome back. Yes, as we said, we are looking at the very damaging spate of these musical lyrics on the Nigerian youth. So first and foremost, we want to ask Mr. Idem, what do you see to the current musical space within Nigerian society?
I think Nigeria, we are very, very talented when it comes to music. We're very, very good. The music production is wonderful. But when you look at the high rates and at which the music industry is affecting the youth negatively, also affecting the youth positively, but the negative aspect is very, very high, and it's growing very, very, very fast. And looking at the wordings, which is the lyrics and the visual effects, the ladies they use, the half-naked ladies, it affects the mind of the youth, which by the only thing they want to see is just the ladies, and the only thing they are concerned about is what they are hearing. They don't, the music sometimes, I'm not sure they understand what the musician is saying. All they care about is enjoying the music, the beats, and the half-naked ladies. So I think it's affecting our nation, and it's corrupting the minds of the youth.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. DJ, you are an educational consultant, and we know you're a founder, a proprietor of a very foremost tutorial center within Lagos State. Now, we want to ask, looking at your students, have you been able to see anything that is damaging as to this abuse of some of these lyrics on the academic performances?
Thank you. You see, firstly, you look at it, when we say music, what's music itself? Scientifically, we define music as combination of sound. And if you also look at it, we can also say music is a medium of passing message across. Then, if not only in the educational sector, all over the country, I'm using Nigeria as a case study now. music is very good to the mind, but the present day music we have has really done, in fact, many of them have done much damages that's to the students. And you see these days, unlike those days, you have music. In fact, there are some music those days that we listen to, or that we add that even till now, when you hear those music, that it give you a kind of, message within your mind. And even some of them actually try to correct you on certain parts, but we don't have those ones these days. What we have these days is that, like my colleague said, that people just want to listen to lyrics. That's the sound. Not even understanding what, the message is about. So I think those are some of those things Nigeria government really need to look into.
Mr. Eden, picking up from what Mr. DJ also said about the composition of these lyrics in terms of not in any way adding values, not inspiring any positive mentality, what do you think is actually the driving force or the impetus? What gives these young musicians the drive to want to create music of all sort of bad lyrics?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, if you look at it, it's like, I want to explain in practical terms. If you have kids, and most often you buy them biscuits, most often you get them biscuits, they will get used to that particular type of biscuit. You get them every time. The next time you get them something different, you get them something, a biscuit different from the brand you used to get, they would really not like it. Now, when you look at what the drive force that give these young musicians to produce more of this type of music, when they produce it, that is what people want to listen to. That is what they want. That is what they want to hear. And when they give it out, people collect it. People accept it. Before they produce a music, you have about 100 views already. You have about 2,000 downloads already. And tell me, another musician will want to do the same thing. And like, let me drop it. Let me try it. They will collect it. They would accept it. They would take it. So the more they keep accepting it, the more you have such thing coming in. But when you look, I want to mention some names. Now, you have someone like Asha. If you ask so many youths, they don't really listen to Asha. But the message, like I said, the message she passed across, who cares? Who cares? But when someone like David will come on stage, 30 billion, all the youths, 30 billion, I want to have 30 billion in my account. That is what they want, the money. Like I said earlier, they have naked women. So when they keep producing it, this is what they want to hear. They don't want to hear this other side. If I should produce this thing, they won't listen to it. But if I should produce this thing, they would accept it.
So essentially, well, what we're saying is that the composition of the Nigerian young people influences what these musicians are inspired to do, yeah, because of what they want to consume. Yeah. Okay, if that's the case, Mr. DJ, I would actually want you to weigh in from the angle of what do you think is the best approach to curtailing the excesses? Because most of this music, they are being downloaded through the YouTube channel or through some other social media platforms. How do you think we can curtail the excesses of these young? Because you cannot say the censor board, because the censor board do not censor the internet. So how do we curtail this menace from the standpoint of morality, you being an educational proprietor yourself?
Thank you. I will say there are many different approach that can be taken that's in that direction. I will first talk about in the area of government. Then I will also talk about, let me first talk on the area of government. You see, I will say Nigeria government, or let me say Nigeria is just like like an open market where anything can come in. Does who cares? Does anything can move in? Does at any time? And that is one of those things that you have really affecting our nation. That's today. That somebody will just enter studio. That's just mix up anything. But the thing is, whatever you want to do, don't target money alone. I just want to make it let it, what will people buy? That don't have that's in mind alone. But the thing is that know that you are also affecting lives.
Exactly.
That you should be very careful of, the message you pass across. You see, music is just like food to the mind. And whatever you feed the mind with is what you grow up to be. That you eventually grow to be that. You see, look at the like of Dr. Ebenezer Obey. There are some songs they sang years back. Till date, if those songs, they still play it, you still listen, you still pick some,
Something from it.
information from it. But many of the songs we have these days, that they can only stand, within a year, they fade out. So one of the approach to it is that Nigeria government should see, what to do. That the necessary agents should come up. That before any music comes out or is being, sent to the market, it should be, screened. That it should be screened. I don't want to mention any musician or names. But it should be properly screened. Then again, what is it called? The individual, you should also have in mind that you are touching lives. You are touching lives. And every necessary agents that are also involved, we need to rise up to this. That's because I will call it, is a monster that is really eating deep on Nigerian youths.
We actually understand that we cannot depend on the government, especially in a country like Nigeria. And that's the essence of the National Enlightenment Forum, where we seek to educate the young people directly and see how we can address issues, because they are the one affected. They are the one that download this music. And they are the one that live by the lyrics of this music. Now, in what practical, taking the students out there, the young people out there, in what practical way can they themselves become a defining point whereby they know this kind of music? Because we see that even in the children's party, you see music that abuses the feminine gender sensitive part. I don't want to mention names as well. And most of these songs gets to these toddlers, to these very young people, are still being played by the DJs. Not your own DJ now, the DJs. So now, the thing is, we are trying to put up the fire on one hand, but we are setting up the fire, if I'm blowing the air on the fire on the other hand. So how do we marry these two? How do we effectively limit the playing time from all these platforms, educational platforms, even we see churches today? So how do we limit the playing time of some of this music as a way of discouraging this in our educational institutions or on educational programs?
Thank you. Actually, that's part of what I said earlier on. You see, one of the problems we have in the society we have today is that morality is something that we have lost. You see, and this is one of the area parents, especially, also need to come in. You see, the Bible says that train up a child the way he should go. so that when the child grow, he will not get out of it. You see, like my colleagues earlier said, what you have been feeding your child with from when the child is young, it will be hard to actually depart from it. You see, if parents can also work that with, schools and other, necessary organization. There's an adage that says, when somebody is playing wrong music and nobody is there to dance, the person will eventually stop. But if the person is playing bad music and people are dancing, you are encouraging the person.
Definitely.
And he will do more.
Yep.
So one of those things is that these are some of those. You see parents sometimes, even when this is from when the child is young, that's, I want my child to belong. Eventually it will get to a stage. We face a lot of it. That's even in our school. When parents will even come, that's, please help me to control my child, that is out of hand. But when that child was small, when the child was young, what were the impacts you play that's in the life of that child? What are the type of music, and other things you expose those, children to? So as at that time, there are some things you need to stand up for. Then also schools and other necessary agents, including churches. That's all those things. You see, there are some times you say we are doing choreography, all those things. We invite some of these songs that's in. You see, by the time many of the young ones these days doesn't know their right from their left, when they see it being played, they feel that is the normal, it's very okay. And the next thing is, but we should be particular about the message that such, music is passing across. When you are saying, I want to be richer than my father, that's fine. It's very good. But the thing is that money, is it the first thing? Or is it is it more paramount compared to your, names and other things? Like I said, those days you listen to, what do you call it? Some songs. That's those days. Baba mi e ṣeun rere tí a dá. In fact, I do tell my students that those days I still remember a particular song that we normally sing it on assembly ground, as a marching in song. That you hear, Olúṣọlá, Olúṣọlá, fetí sí ẹ̀kọ́ rẹ̀, those songs that kò bá lè jẹ́ ọmọ rere lẹ́yìn ọ̀la. It passes some message. That, you hear songs like University Dara, níbi táwọn mọ̀wé wà. That, you want, not these days. A lot of songs you have promotes immorality. Yep. That's these days. Thank you.
So essentially, we're looking at the action point. So we can say that the young people, or the parents rather, could actually stamp their position on the ground that they will not allow the children at this social age until when they become adult, then they're free to make their choice to grow up hearing this music. Or we can equally say that the parent, the school authorities could prevent or inhibit some certain songs to actually be played in any of their programs. By so doing, they limit the airtime, the free airtime they give to these young people, these musicians, of passing their messages. Because the more you sing something in the public, the more it becomes a norm in the society. So can we say we can take that action point, both from the parents and from the school authorities?
Thank you. Of course, those two body, or let me say agents, you see, when a child is growing, he actually move within the parents and the school. A child will go to school in the morning, that at that time is in care of the school of authority. Then, when the child gets home, that is in the hand of the parents. Those are the major, agents that actually help in socialization of that children when it's growing. And that is one of those things we said earlier. You see, many a time, like, I will say in my school, as a case study, many a time I tell parents that, you see, you have more to do at home, more work to do at home. You see, the school, sometimes some parents, when you, actually say something, they will tell you no, that they are okay with the lifestyle of the child. But you see, and if a parent say that, there is limits to what you, as a school, you can do. But most of the time, if the two work together, and like you said, social media is another thing. You see, that's, if you look at the level of, I will say, the level of, well, shall I say, the level of immorality that's in the society, that's from the time social media, has really come on, that you see that there are a lot of things that has really been damaged. And like I still said earlier, you see, as a parent, that's why you see some family, they are like, in my home, when there are some music you must not play at home. Your dad must not hear this. So when you have it, you can't play it at home. In school, you are not allowed. Eventually, that's the only thing you have to do is to actually separate from some things, with time. But if you know that, okay, if at all at home, that I can't play it, I know school, I can normally do that. You still have a place. Then what the child will do is to stay longer. That's at school, because it's permitted on some things. But if, both school and home, the child doesn't have any, then it will also be, be careful on what he does. Then even as a child, you are growing. I always tell my students, when you want to embark on anything, the first thing is look at where is that thing going to land you, or what am I going to benefit from it. The music you are listening to, you sit back. What am I getting from it? Then what benefits is it to my life? That, how is it going to help me? Is it that, is really encouraging me, or that instead is pushing me in the wrong direction? You should be able to decide that for yourself. And that is where they say you can force a horse to the river, but you cannot force it to drink water. Thank you.
All right, so we're still talking about the issues bordering on the impact, the sensibility abuse on the psyche of the Nigerian youths. And so far, my guests have been giving us a whole lot of sides to this very saddening development. And right now, we want to look into some other aspects. But before we do that, we'll go on this commercial break. Thank you. Welcome back. We are still talking about the spate of abuse on the sensibility of the Nigerian youths in terms of their psyche relating with the musical lyrics of Nigerian hip-hop music. Now, in case we have any among our audience who have any question or any comment to make so far on this topic, we're free to indicate.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Right, thank you. My name is Omodadipo Samuel. I'm a student. And I want to ask, based on what has been discussed so far, let's take, for instance, this scenario of a child or children that actually have parents that go out early in the morning, and for maybe they have a house help that, takes the children to school and bring them back when school is over. Then the parents return in the evening or in the nights when probably they are in bed. So I want to ask, how can those kind of parents actually check the excesses of the children the type of things they do, the music they listen to, particularly type of media content they spy into, and other stuff like that. So what can be done?
You've asked a very good question. And, as a parent, you have a very vital role to play in the life of your child. And as a parent, you have the right to go through your child's phone, because maybe be it a laptop, be it a phone or a tablet, you have the whole right to go through it. And after that, you check the songs, the download, the videos, or let's say the song. You look at them and you're like, you're not satisfied with the song. You're not okay. You have the right to caution your child, to wake them up and like, my son, I want to say this. There are times that parents, sometimes they get it a little bit wrong. They get it just a little bit wrong. When you force the child, they're like, no, you don't listen to this song, you don't do this, you don't do that. You're not making the child understand. He wants to ask reasons why. Why shouldn't I listen to this song? What is wrong with the song? You need to make the child understand. This song will corrupt you. This song won't lead you anywhere. For instance, now some videos of some particular songs push some youths into masturbation. You push them into masturbation, not because they want to masturbate, but because of what they are saying. You see some youths, the way they dress, because of the dressing, what they've seen. For instance, now, if Wizkid should come on stage, zip down, his jeans should zip down, you see so many youths doing it. Why? Because Wizkid has done it on stage. But it's wrong. So you as a parent, that's the right time. You've given them an indication. Yes, you still have a part to play. At the middle of the night, you call them to caution. I've gone through your laptop or your phone or this or that, and when I checked, I wasn't happy. I'm not happy. So you draw them close. Make sure they're your friend. Make sure they're ready to tell you anything. So when as a parent you check their phone often and you discover that, okay, my child is listening to this kind of a song, what do? You call them to order. You call them. You bring them. You don't shout on them. You don't just make them understand that this is going to corrupt you. Now, you said something. You asked another question. You said, what of in a school if the school allowed them to go out to show how handsome and wealthy they are? My dear, any school that does that, they're not in the right track. What you have to do is to educate a child. So why would you allow a child come and behave anyhow? Any school that does that.
Essentially, Mr. Eden, essentially, like he rightly said, the school should curtail the excesses of these children in terms of how they flaunt themselves with some of this behavior that depict some of these decadence within this Nigerian musical space.
Yeah. You see, there are so many answers to that question, and there are so many disadvantages to how a school allow students to showcase how wealthy they are. It brings in bullying. It brings in bullying. Though we are not talking about that, but also it brings in bullying. I'm wealthy, and you are coming from a poor home. How dare you talk to me? It brings in bullying. So the school should not only focus on the academical aspects. They should go on extracurricular activities like, for instance, having moral talks, like he has said, morality. Having and creating an ethics to make students understand that this is wrong and this is right. I'm not condemning our culture. I'm not condemning African culture. Africa is a wonderful culture. I'm not condemning, but there are times that our parents, they force you to understand these things, but they don't make you understand things.
Okay. So, thank you very much. Mr. Adiji, quickly, we have some few seconds to go. How do you weigh in on that question? Should parents take full responsibility at each point in time, or they should just resign to fate because there's nothing anybody can do?
That's serious. One thing is this, like the question that was asked. One thing I want many of our parents to understand is this. We need money for today. We need the children for tomorrow.
We need money for today. We need children for tomorrow.
So you should weigh which one, you should give more attention to. You see, it's just Nigeria economy, that's the economy of the country, that has made both the husband and wife to go out early in the morning, come back late at night. Normally, you know, the normal setting should be that either the father go out, you know, in the morning. The mother, the job she will do should be the type that she will have time for the children. But you see, these days, you know, father go out in the morning, mother go out in the morning, come back late at night. The house help is, do you know what the house help is feeding your child with? That we have heard of cases. That's where, you know, the children, they are left with the house help. That's, you know, a male child and a female child. Then each time the house help will put in, that's, you know, a pornography film. And the children, they will be there, they will be watching. Then they will be practicing it. That's, you know, also with the children. Then when the parent comes back, you know, this you can't check it on their phone. That's, you can't know what they are, you know. So, and you see, all this register in the memory, that's in the subconscious. And you know, when the child grows, things that have been planted for years to take it, you know, it will be difficult. So the thing is that later, if you now look at it, fine, you made the money, that you leave home very early in the morning. But you understand that that money, that's, you know, the children that would have made you happy, not the money that would have made you happy, you know, they are not there. So these are some of those things, though it may not be easy, but you should consider, you know.
Thank you very much, Mr. DJ. So far, we'll be talking about the abuse of the lyrics in Nigerian hip-hop music on the Nigerian youth. And the action point is that the parents, essentially, who are most essentially in the who are the custodian of these children, should ensure that they have a good rapport with the children and ensure they inculcate and instill values into them, because it's only on these values that these children can grow up and they can live to see between the wheat and the chaff, listening to the right content on whether they are alone or they are with their peers or with their parents. They will always know what is good and what is right for them. So before we end up the show, we're going to bring in up a young man who we think that, on the contrary, has been making on the contrary to the abusive state of the music on other Nigerian youth. He has been doing something very wonderful for himself. But that will come after this time. Thank you.